Hello, this is Fred Hall from Santron. We're here to introduce the Clarifi camera installation. We're at Weiss & Trucking in Gardner, Massachusetts. They specialize in the transport of petroleum products. When you receive your box with the camera, you'll open up your box and of course you'll find the camera. You'll have your window mount, USB cable for connecting to the computer for setup only. You'll find a pair of insulation displacement connectors, which can be useful for connecting the 12 volt to 5 volt supply. And we have the GPS antenna that plugs directly into the camera. You may need a few hand tools like screwdrivers and a pair of pliers, nothing fancy. And you'll want a little bit of rubbing alcohol to clean surfaces where the glue patches will be attached. The first part of setup is to take the camera and hook it up to your computer so that you can download two programs that are already preloaded on the camera. There is a program called AMCAP, which is for a live view of the camera during setup. And then there's also Blackview, which is utilized for looking at recorded files at a later date. So that's the part of the process we'll go through now. We'll take our USB cable and we'll hook it into the camera. And then we'll take the other end of the cable and we'll hook that into the computer. The camera just gave an audible tone that there is a connection and the files are now viewable. There's going to be two folders, two removable disks. It's partitioned. One of those disks is going to have two folders called Event and Normal. Presently, those are empty because there have not been any recordings performed. But in the future, Normal will have your continuous recordings of driving, and your Event will have any information stored that was the result of heavy braking, high G-forces, or a manual SOS push on the camera. The second folder that we're going to take a look at is also a partition removable disk called Dome. So we will open up this folder and we see two executable programs. AMCAP is an executable program that we will utilize during setup of the camera in the cab. And the other program, Blackview, is what you'll utilize at a later date to look at recorded events. Okay, now let's take a closer look at how to move the files over from the camera. As we stated earlier, there are two partitioned removable disks associated inside the camera. So we will open up the file from the camera. We will look for the removable disks. This disk here has the Event and the Normal, which will be used in the future for recording. And the other removable disk has the Dome file, which is where the software is stored. So we will open up Dome. We will click and drag the AMCAP over to our desktop. Okay, so now that is available on the desktop, and we'll be able to use that in setting up the camera the first time out in the truck. The other program, Blackview, is an executable, and all we need to do is double click on that file. So by double clicking, it comes up, asks us if we want to run the program, which is a yes. There is the setup wizard. Click Next. Let the default put it into your program file. And let's also generate an icon on the desktop. That way I don't have to look for it later. Ready to install. And the wizard is doing its magic. And finish. Now, the first time that we execute Blackview, there may be a little bit of a collision in the software. And that is, the computer recognizes another program called iGo. That's easy to solve. All we're going to do is go back, right-click, and run it as an administrator. That will solve the problem. When using the AM cap, you might accidentally run into the camera of your computer and not the Clarifi camera. So let's go into Devices and click on the UBC1 device. Now we potentially have a view of the camera, as we do here. However, if you do not have the view, let's just go over to Options and click on Preview. We now have the AM cap functioning properly, and now you have the ability to set up the camera in the cab and adjust the direction of the camera to get the best view of the road. At the end of that download, you can disconnect the camera. Okay, here we are in the cab. Aaron, the mechanic here at Wyson, he's pulled the dash for us so we have access to a switchable power supply. We've identified a location where we would like to place the camera. The GPS will go down here out of sight within the tray, and the cables will end up being hidden behind the molding here. So let's go ahead and see if we can put this together. And we'll clean the glass. And I'm going to clean that area with the alcohol. Okay, let's pull that tape off. Now we're ready for the glue pad. Let's just press on that for a few seconds, let it get a nice set. Put the camera approximately in that position. Lock it down a little bit. So let's go ahead and attach the power cable. So we will peel off the paper off the back of the glue panel. Here's the GPS glued into position down here in this tray, and it'll be totally out of sight. Okay, now the rest of the cable I'm going to bring over here into this vertical panel area. It'll come up here, and it will also attach to the camera. So now the GPS is attached. Now what we're ready to do is come down into the dashboard, and we're ready to make the electrical connection to the camera. So this here is a switchable power port. So we'll put the ground into the outside. And we will place the hot wire into the inside. So there we go. Here you'll see the red wire on the hot side and the black wire on the ground side. Switchable power ports through the ignition. So the camera will only run when the ignition is on. So we now have our physical connections all set up. Okay, now that we have our physical connections all made and wired in, let's go back to one of those programs we downloaded and verify our field of view. So we're going to unplug the power cable. We're going to take our USB cable from the computer, depress the SOS button, hold it, insert the cable, release the SOS button. So now from the programs that we downloaded earlier, let's open up the AMCAP program. And there's good video of our truck. Now we can adjust the location of the camera, make adjustment on our field of view, get a nice view left and right in order to give us the field of view that we want to have. We have the thumb screw here on top of the camera mount. Get the camera into position, slight squeeze on the thumb screw, and we're all set, ready to roll. And there we are. That'll be the permanent position for the camera looking out of the windshield. And we're now ready to button up all of the plastic, and we're ready to roll. Notice the blue light is in charging mode. Soon it will turn red. There you go. It is now recording. With the Clarifi camera, we have automated G-sensor technology that automatically captures any accident that occurs. However, in the event of an accident, or if you see something strange on the road that you need to capture, hit the SOS button manually, and that will store the information in the event folder. Now that your Clarifi camera is all set up and ready to run, I hope this gives you a sense of security as you're traveling up and down the roads. Good traveling and good luck.